What's up, people? My name is Nate, lawyer slash YouTuber. And you know what? It's funny. I went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning and got some donuts. And I was thinking when I was there, I was like, these people aren't wearing masks. So I think this might be my last time to go to Dunkin' Donuts. So before we get started, if this is your first time here, if you're new here, my name is Nate, lawyer, YouTuber, and I do videos. If you enjoy watching this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel, all that great jazz. Today, I think it's a good opportunity to look at Dr. Drew Pinsky's videos on his response to the coronavirus threat. Now, the most interesting part of his responses to the coronavirus is that he was one of those coronavirus deniers. He was just saying more or less garbage all this time. And he now wants to sue anybody who plays the video you're going to see. He says he's going to sue for copyright infringement. That's what he wants to sue for. He does not want people to see the video of him, of Dr. Drew Pinsky, getting it wrong. And not only getting a little bit wrong, but a lot wrong. So I got a special guest for you, all the way from the other side. His name is Uncivil Law.
That's right, baby. In the house, baby. I'm here.
8 in the morning. Now, listen, also, everybody, let you know, I know times are tough, but this video is going to be demonetized automatically because I've said coronavirus like multiple times, Dr. Drew Pinsky. It's demonetized. So if you like this type of stream, help support it. Throw me a super chat. Hit me up on Patreon. Do something if you can. If you can't, trust me, I totally understand because times are tough. What's going on civil law? What's been happening, brother?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, and I just saw a report from my town of Austin. They just came out with a report that says that they estimate a current 25% unemployment rate in Austin. So I'm sure this is not a uniquely Austin problem, but it's really interesting in terms of a lot of things. Like the timing of this for Austin was particularly not good because Austin has South by Southwest. And gets huge amounts of its revenue. From what I understand, like some of these businesses, food trucks, get like 50% of their revenue from like those 2 weeks, right? For the year. That makes sense
because it's like Christmas. Like
yes, exactly, right?
Christmas, yeah.
So I'm like, the timing on that is pretty bad because I'm thinking to myself, well, not only did they not get that revenue, but I'm imagining more than a few of them were leveraging debt on the expectation of that revenue, right? Because they're making capital improvements and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah,
so they were like, well, I'm going to front load that so that I can be in a good position. And so they're like in a particularly bad position because they just took on all that debt, to some businesses, and now they don't have the revenue on the backside. And so basically it's a total disaster area for a lot of these businesses. So I'm a little bit concerned about that in terms of how my new hometown is going to be picking up on this on the other side of this thing.
Well, listen, to everybody out there who's lost their job, who's had, there's been horrible things happening in the economy, we will prevail. It's just, this is just a moment in time. And, a couple of years later, we're going to go back and say, where were you when the, pandemic broke out? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the, where were you on 9/11 thing, but, we're in it right now. So, again, it's, I don't know what to say. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So, all right.
But I'm happy to be. I'm happy to be here with you as part of this active conspiracy to feature this video from Dr. Drew.
We're about to get sued. He's going to serve us process. He's about to serve us process. So here we go, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Now, first, I got to set this up. I can't just show you the video and be like, well, what happened. All right. So first, let's hear America's top infectious disease doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. We're going to first hear him explain why this novel coronavirus is not like the flu. So let's go to Dr. Fauci and let's hear what he has to say. Okay, so remember, Dr. Fauci, why the novel coronavirus is not like the flu. Go.
SARS was also a coronavirus in 2002. It infected 8,000 people and it killed about 775. It had a mortality of about 9 to 10%. So that's only 8,000 people in about a year. In the 2.5 months that we've had this coronavirus, as you know, we now have multiples of that. So it clearly is not as lethal, and I'll get to the lethality in a moment, but it certainly spreads better. Probably for the practical understanding of the American people, the seasonal flu that we deal with every year has a mortality of 0.1%. The stated mortality overall of this, when you look at all the data, including China, is about 3%. It first started off as 2 and now 3. I think if you count all the cases of minimally symptomatic or asymptomatic infection, that probably brings the mortality rate down to somewhere around 1%, which means it is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu.
10 times.
I think that's something that people can get their arms around and understand.
But less lethal than N1H1 or SARS?
No, absolutely not. H1N1 is even the 2009 pandemic of H1N1 was even less lethal than the regular seasonal flu. It was a pandemic.
I'm trying to help the American people know where to appropriately set their gauge.
I think you set the gauge is that this is a really serious problem that we have to take seriously. I mean, people always say, well, the flu, the flu does this, the flu does that. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%.
Sure.
This has a mortality of 10 times that.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I want to emphasize we have to stay ahead of the game in preventing this.
So I think that is clear, right? This is not the seasonal flu. It's 10%. It's the flu is 10 times more lethal. 10 times more lethal. This is not the flu. Anybody who's telling you this is like the flu is wrong. Do we get that?
Yeah, it depends, and not to overly lawyer it, but it depends a little bit. But what you mean by like the flu? Because I mean, because for me, I still thought it was when people were saying that initially. What I understood like the flu is, I'm reasoning by metaphor, right? It's like the flu has these known kind of properties, right? It spreads this kind of way. It has these kind of ailments. It has these kind of conditions, right? And so it's like this, except make the following adjustments.
But hold on. But there's a difference between us as non-doctors saying that, right? It's like the flu, respiratory, but there's a difference between a doctor saying it's like the flu, right? You would, for instance, if I say something, some technical legal term, it would be different if you explain it in a poor way versus someone who doesn't have that experience. No?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I just take a small amount of umbrage people who heard just it's like the flu and then went to it is the flu. Because those are not quite the same statement. That was my only point.
All right, and that's fair. That's fair. So now we're about to play the video that's going to get us sued, right? Because Doctor, as you saw the thumbnail, erase or lawsuit. So let's hear what Doctor. Now you've heard what the professionals say, and Dr. Drew Pinsky says he trusts Fauci. We're going to hear that here too. But now we're going to hear this.
Worse than the flu. It's way less virulent than the flu, so it's a reminder that you're more likely to die of influenza, so go ahead and get your flu shots. Mild, doesn't hurt anybody. That should be the headline. Way less serious than influenza. That's the headline.
What the 2% lethality thing is you have there. You talk about the coronavirus thing, it's less than 2%. It's like 0.02%. It is less.
I hear people say there's no sound to the video, so let me restart it. All right. You see, this is what happens. This is Dr. Drew's fault. Dr. Drew's fault. He didn't want me to share the video. But don't worry, Dr. Drew.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get the full fact.
Yeah. Here it is. Part 2. Let's go.
It's way less virulent than the flu, so it's a reminder that you're more likely to die of influenza, so go ahead and get your flu shots. Mild, doesn't hurt anybody. That should be the headline. Way less serious than influenza. That's the headline.
What the 2% lethality thing is you have there. You talk about the coronavirus thing, it's less than 2%. It's like 0.02%. It is less dangerous than influenza. less dangerous than influenza. Your
Can you hear it well?
probability of dying of coronavirus much higher being hit by an asteroid, I would say.
The flu virus in this country is vastly more consequential, and nobody is talking about that.
Damn.
This corona thing doesn't worry me
It
at all.
is a press-induced panic. I am angry about it.
Press-induced
it is the
panic.
flu.
If you're under
flu.
65 and you get it, you're going to have the flu,
That's true.
and you're going to be fine. It's rare to get complications under that age, 0.1%.
The way Americans in 2020 panic is to hoard toilet paper, you know,
Right. And hoard toilet paper and
antibacterial gel.
right in response to the flu, right?
It's just
Dr.
a
Drew is
flu,
spreading
and it's a different
misinformation.
flu. And if you notice, it's Corona 19, which means there's at least been 18 of these other ones.
Oh yeah.
My understanding.
What?
That's not what that means.
It's going to be almost identical. I can see it coming.
And by the way, if you combine corona and influenza this year, it's still just a moderate flu season. It's not even a severe flu season.
Wow.
So all these horror stories about lack of ventilators and hospital beds being full, that is total BS.
Total BS. It's lies.
Go about your business. I'm traveling all over the country this week, and the planes are full. The airports are full. People are wearing masks foolishly.
Go to the movies. Why do you think like the NBA now discussing the idea of playing without fans? And UCLA today announcing that
Dr.
sports are
Drew,
going to be
you're
without
messing
fans.
me up here.
I think that's a mistake. I think they should give people the option.
Have you noticed less people out on the streets?
Oh, absolutely. Less people in the trains for sure. Well, they told them, de Blasio told them not to ride the trains. And so they're not riding the trains. And so I am. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Should the Olympics be canceled? That's funny.
In a few weeks, this is going to phase out. Is that just because there is a flu season and you expect the COVID-19 to sort of follow the same timeline as your typical flu season?
I don't expect it. I guarantee it.
Will the virus no longer be active in the summer?
It will be gone.
Oh my
God. It will be gone soon.
You're not going to be Italy.
Do I think the U.S. death toll will exceed that of Italy? Yeah, we have a lot more people than Italy.
I've said if we're at 20,000 by the end of this week, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think that's pretty good. Okay, last week I stated 20,000 by Monday. We're in good shape. No, I said 30,000 by Monday. I said no. I said 30,000 by Friday.
Changing the predictions.
60,000 by I beg your pardon.
We're at 350,000 people.
By Monday, but I said 60,000 by this Friday, and we have surpassed that here on Wednesday. So it looks like we're going to be more towards 90,000, 80, 90,000. Where will we be at in a week? Okay. I'm not ready to make that prediction yet. I got to see where we are. I want to see where we are next Monday.
I don't think it's your choice, Drew.
To make a prediction?
Nobody knows. Yeah.
Well, I've been pretty close.
His producer's like, yo, you better chill out with these predictions, man. You're fucking this up.
You said that it was going to be here, and it's been here, and why did you do that? So just don't even predict.
Well, I'm saying...
Don't take the risk.
I'm saying that when do...
That's the voice of God telling you, yo, you better keep
we need to worry.
Stop this, Drew.
Feel pretty good about. And what I was saying that if we're around 60,000 by this Friday, we should feel pretty good. 70,000 by the end of the week. No, we weren't quite there. We were more like 90,000. And what I said was that if we were at 60, I would feel really good.
And we're at 90.
I also said under 100, and we're okay. So we're okay. And it's not like it's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases. There will be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases. So don't let the number scare you. Just to take a deep breath and realize there's 24 million, 30 million flu cases every year. There's 18,000 deaths from that. That if we keep this below those ranges, we're in pretty good shape. And again, under 1 million would be amazing.
Wow.
But do we wait till 20,000 people die and then start panicking?
It's not going to happen.
We're at 11,000 now.
It's not going to happen.
I believe you.
It's not going to happen.
Say we do have 100,000 deaths in the country. Remember, we get 30,000 deaths from the flu. This is going to be, we predicted from the beginning that
100,000 deaths, okay.
So we'd have to at least have 30,000 deaths.
And he predicted that it's going to be worse than the flu.
It is less dangerous than influenza.
All right.
Okay, well.
So now we understand why Dr. Drew doesn't want you to see that video.
Yeah, I mean, we can analyze it as to whether or not it's to the degree to which it's a fair criticism, but in terms of copyright law, it certainly is, right? We're taking a bunch of statements to show different things he said different times and his own lack of ability to foresee that and whatever, at the degree to which, Dr. Drew in particular should be held accountable. As you say, he does call himself doctor, though, so that does carry a bit of particular weight regardless of what his particular profession is, right? If you call yourself doctor, people are going to see that label, and it's going to give you a little bit of imprimatur that will hold you particularly responsible. So, but he's by no means the only ones underselling this. We can go to any number of politicians and news outlets and stuff that were also underselling this. So the degree to which, Dr. Drew in particular should be raked over the coals is one issue. But in terms of the copyright law issue, if you want to know where I live so you can serve me process, let me know. I can't hear you, Nate.
Yes, there is no copyright issue here because this is criticism of his own statements. He's a public figure. He's making these statements, and this is definitely falls under criticism and fair use. Like I don't see the reason why he's threatening this is because he just doesn't want people to see this video. He doesn't want people to see what he said and how wrong he got it. Oops. But to be fair, we have to play Dr. Drew's mea culpa. This is what he put on his own channel. Because, eventually what happens is he started losing money. People started, not booking him for shows. So it's really hurt the bottom line because they're like, Dr. Drew, you told us a whole bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So you fucked this up. So Dr. Drew now has to, it hurt his pocket. So now he has to do something against this. So let's hear Dr. Drew's mea culpa. I like to call this, I got it wrong. Dr. Drew, I got it wrong. Here we go. And max out this volume. Here we go.
Times here. Give you a chance to get in here because I'm going to say something a couple of times here. I'm going to have to say it a couple of times, no doubt, because this needs to be said. And so I want to make sure I'm clear. People hear me clearly.
Yes, we hear you.
So
we hear you.
My early comments about equating coronavirus with influenza were wrong. They were incorrect. I was part of a chorus that was saying that, and we were wrong. And I want to apologize for that. I wish I got it right, but I got it wrong. What I did not get wrong was every time I took a position, I always said, make sure you listen to Dr. Fauci, because he is the person we must look to. He was my guiding star in the AIDS epidemic, and he should be your North Star now. I said that every time I took a position. I was wrong about comparing influenza and coronavirus. That was loser think, as Scott Adam would say. They shouldn't be comparing the epidemics. I was comparing the numbers, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But I want to be clear that I apologize for getting it wrong. I wish I got it right. I did not, thank goodness, get Dr. Fauci wrong. And when Dr. Fauci made it clear that this was not a usual influenza, that it was significantly worse, I adjusted course. And if you noticed, I've been doing at least 2 hours of media a day, changing my perspective in such a way as to sign on for the aggressive measures we are taking. Now, the thing I also said from the beginning was follow the CDC recommendations, follow Dr. Fauci's recommendations. They will keep us safe. And I thought that, when the government started taking more aggressive measures, we should all sign up. We had a collective responsibility to do so. I wear a mask outside now. I do what I'm supposed to do, and it's paying dividends. It is improving. It is flattening the curve. And I'm delighted to be a part of that. I'm glad to be a part of that. So I think the reason I got it wrong is I didn't understand the ferocity of this illness, the way it can crash people. I was just looking at the numbers and comparing numbers, and that was the loser thing.
Now, that's his stream. His stream is messing up.
Now, I will tell you, as part of my responsibility is I have signed up for California and the New York Health Corps, and I will go to the front lines to serve whatever needs are necessary in either of those states when.
So now, to be fair, his stream started messing up a couple of times. So his stream was actually messing up. And that's one of 6 because he tried to do this like 6 times and he kept messing up. So, and he's actually now volunteered for the health corps to go onto the front lines and fight the virus on the front lines because he's so upset at how wrong he got it. What do you think about that?
Well, I think as a general proposition, we shouldn't punish people when they're doing the right thing, right? So, because that's a bad policy. So I think we should, take note at least that he's doing the right thing and saying, look, I made a mistake. I made errors. There were a lot of people who made this error. Now, the part where quibble with that is when he says a lot of people, how many of those people are medical people versus like non-medical people? Like I can point to statements from Bill Blasio or Pelosi or other people, and I know I've lost name. I'll just keep talking for a minute. I can point to statements from various people where they got this wrong and undersold this, or I can point to mainstream media that got wrong, and put things and saying like, the flu is going to be much worse. There were articles written like that. So the chorus of people that were getting it wrong, I would be curious the degree to which how many of those people were doctors that were likewise, like what were the percentage of doctors who got it wrong versus not would be an interesting thing, which I don't know. But I will take note that he's making the right decision right now, right? He said, look, I got it wrong. I made the wrong prediction. To be fair, I'll defend Dr. Drew. What the hell? To be fair,
Go ahead, do it, man.
Yeah,
do it.
To be fair, he could have been right. There have been other diseases like this, depending what we mean by like. Again, right? There have been SARS and MERS and other things, which have all, in the grand scheme, not proved to be particularly serious in terms of their global impact. So this could have maybe in some alternative universe turned that way, and it would have turned into essentially a nothing burger. So it went the wrong way, and so he's getting burned for that. But like, how reasonable was that view at the time? I don't know, and I still can't hear you, Nate.
You can't hear me?
I can now.
Oh, I don't know. I
don't know what you're doing, but every once in a while, it's like, I don't know what you're doing, but it keeps muting.
Well, two things though. Two things. Number one, Dr. Fauci, that was March 3rd when he said it's not like the flu, it's 10 times worse than the flu.
Fauci.
Fauci said it on March 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
On March, Dr. Drew kept saying it was like the flu after that. So he didn't. So it's like maybe he didn't see Fauci's press conference when he testified, but he kept saying it's like the flu even after that. And only until recently in April did he change his tone. Now I want to make it very clear. I said it was like the flu. My wife, who is a medical doctor who works with patients, she said it was like the flu when it first started, because we all understand these pandemics by analogies. This is like the flu. Same respiratory things. I understand that. But as a medical professional who's out there now giving supposedly expert advice on a disease, I would expect someone in that position to make the argument that, yes, it is like the flu in this context about the symptoms and stuff, but it is not like the flu because here is the evidence: 10 times more lethal than the flu. It has a R naught, which is it's a lot more contagious than the flu. All these other things to let people know, yeah, it's like the flu in this limited sense, but in this other sense, it is not like the flu. Dr. Drew simply got it wrong, and that's the reason why he's now putting his life on the line and going to the front lines, because he got it so wrong. This is career destroying stuff would happen with Dr. Drew. And if it was one of us, then we could say, yeah, we got it wrong. But Dr. Drew going out there, going on Fox News, going on to see him and saying this stuff and getting it wrong the way he got it wrong, that's a problem. That's a big problem for Dr. Drew.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about the copyright law element is that we could all make the fair use of it and make our own analysis, right? We can all make the critique we want to make. So I'm making a more nuanced or perhaps more favorable critique, and you're making a more aggressive critique. I think the zeitgeist critique has certainly been extremely negative to Dr. Drew.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Can he, and obviously this is not legal advice. If you're taking this as legal advice, then you got a problem because you're taking legal advice off of YouTube. Don't do that.
Not great.
Don't do that. Okay. Now with that out the way, again, not legal advice. Don't take this as legal advice. But now, I think if he was to sue us for playing that video, I don't think he has a case, because those are his words and we are critiquing what he said. What do you think?
I think you can probably make the video is in and of itself a fair use without more, because it's the same sort of analysis, the Sargon analysis, right?
This is Sargon. This is Sargon again.
But it's a better example of the Sargon than Sargon was. Because as we remember from a previous stream, I was like, I'm not so sure the Sargon is really that good an example of the Sargon. This is a better example of the Sargon, where it's a lot more clips, it's a lot more juxtaposed, where there's a lot more things where the inherent tension between points is much more readily apparent. So for me, it's inherently fair use. Then on top of that, we're offering commentary critique on top of the whole thing to say, well, this is what we think and all that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable on my fair use analysis, feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I also think This is quintessential fair use, but I do understand why Dr. Drew is threatening is threatening people to erase this content, to erase these videos, because this is career damaging. It just is. It just is, and I understand why he's now trying to go to the front lines, because I think he's probably looked at an attorney and probably said, "Hey, do you think I have a case?" The attorney probably said, "No, you don't have a case," and now he's going to the front line to try to save what career he had, and I feel for the man in that situation. But let's just be real. He got it horribly wrong for a doctor giving informed opinion.
Fair enough. I think that's right.
All right, guys. Well, listen, if you liked what you just heard, this is Uncivil Law. Let me throw your link to your channel in the description, in the both this chat and the description. Uncivil Law. Actually, it's funny because every time I send you the link, I'm like, maybe he'll come, maybe he'll go, and you come, and you came.
And I'm around, right? So I was up getting ready with my morning, so why not?
That's true. That's true. What you been up to recently? Because I know this must be crazy for you now.
Things have been reasonably good for me. I'm still trying to get out and walk around. Not that anyone else is. It's interesting walking on the streets just for exercise, because no one's out there. I don't know if you walk around the streets of New York at all. In the current environment, do you walk around outside?
I do sometimes, and it is it's a ghost town out there. Town out there.
So it's pretty weird.
But it's very rare right now, to be honest with you, too. Crime is up pretty high now, because I think people just don't have any money, and it's that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I got a couple of questions in the chat. Go ahead.
I was just saying the long-term impacts of this are something that should be considered. And, this is still a criticism of mine in terms of the media and how they've been treating this. When Trump was saying it would be nice to reopen the economy, and the media's response was Trump wants to offer up the bodies onto the altar of the economy. I'm like, 2, 3, 6, 12 months from now, when, things go really bad, you're going to be like, why did he do more about the economy? So, my hate, I'm hatred of things the news media is going to say 3 months from now, because it's predictable.
Yes, I definitely, yes. And it's funny because I want to do a video like this where I get the news media doing the same thing. Like, they're saying it's all like the flu, and then change it up. I want to be fair to both sides. You find Democrats, you find Republicans, you find everybody saying this, getting it wrong early. But I don't think anybody who got it wrong early is now threatening to sue people who exposed that. So, and I think that's the problem with Dr. Drew.
Or my personal favorite little element of the people who got it right, people who got it wrong, and sort of lack of self-awareness is when Trump put in the ban for people coming from China and from Europe.
Yes, everybody got it wrong.
There's quite a lot of people, including quite a lot of people in the Democratic Party, who said this ban is racist, including, for example, a current presidential candidate known as Joe Biden. Right, saying, well, this is racist, whatever. And then you go listen to him, recently said, well, he should have put it in place sooner. Oh, yes. If Trump had 2 weeks earlier put in place the ban on people,
he would have been called
China,
he would have
been totally on board. Yeah. That's definitely a thing that was happening.
He would have been called even a more xenophobic racist.
I don't know why Trump made that call, in the grand scheme, or if he got lucky or whatever.
It was the right call.
I'm grateful for it. But it was the right call. And if Joe Biden had been president, well, apparently he wouldn't have made that call. He would have made the call to much later, and maybe we'd be in a much worse situation. That's a
good point.
To say, well, banning people from China, that's racist. I'm like, well, that's
not in the middle of a pandemic. Not in the middle of a pandemic.
That's virology, right? It's like
It's like
did none of you guys ever play Plague Inc.? It's like we gotta shut down the airports and the seaports, man. It's one of the things you gotta do.
Well, I also want to make mention too. Dr. Fauci at first said there was no problem. I've got clips of Dr. Fauci at the beginning saying that this was not, America, this is no threat to the United States and things of that nature. So everyone, even the experts, got it wrong. But the difference is when you get the data, then you make the change. So I think that's what happened with and I think Dr. Drew just waited till April to make his change, and Dr. Fauci.
Well, one thing, and this is a point where I'm going to give Dr. Drew props. I'll give him props because he's come forward and clearly said, look, I made a mistake. I got it wrong. I made the wrong decision. I made the wrong statements. Where's like the statement from Biden or Blasio or Pelosi or anyone else who were saying, yeah, I made the wrong thing. It was the right decision. I was wrong. Just, where's that? Not seeing a lot of mea culpas from a lot of other people who should be getting some mea culpas, it seems to me. Nate, I don't know what you're doing, but every time you touch it, maybe you have a bad connection. I think maybe your connection is bad. Maybe you need a new one. Or
maybe for the mic.
Yes, this is also like a bit of an aside, but I used to have a Bluetooth Yeti Pro, and my thing actually stopped working because the internal connector stopped working, and I tried to get support and whatever. So because every time you put it in and put it out, it jiggles that little port, and apparently the Yeti has a problem with that. So it might actually be failing. So
So when every time I move it, that's when it
pro tip there. You might be having a problem because I had a similar problem.
Let me. Learning with Suge, great stream, Nate, and Uncivil Law. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Learning with Suge. I appreciate the super chat. Listen, guys, we are about to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Uncivil Law, I put your description in the chat, and I'm going to put it in the description bar. Listen, guys, thank you, and let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think I'm too hard on poor Dr. Drew? Do you think that do you think that he's right in trying to censor anybody from bringing up that he made this mistake?
That part he could choke on. Yeah, that part he could choke on. Where the censorship part, it's not helpful either.
Yeah,
because it gets more light. If he hadn't done that, we wouldn't be talking about it. We're only talking about because of Streisand effect. So that worked out real well for him.
That's right. He's going to sue us. I got 25 HRK. Nate Brody, would it be appropriate to seek declaratory judgment as a prevention against this threatened lawsuit? Well, if he threatened me directly, possibly, because right now he hasn't really threatened anybody. It's what is it? The blurred lines. Remember blurred lines? Where they sued to seek declaratory judgment. I don't think this could be appropriate right now because he hasn't threatened to sue me. So maybe I don't know. I think that would fill up the courts with lawsuits if people did that, right? Yeah, right. Oh, he may sue me, so I'm going to sue. So I don't think it's appropriate this time. But very good question. I appreciate it. Listen, everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us such early in the morning. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a couple more videos coming out about this. I got one about the timeline of the virus. I have the one about the difference between South Korea and the United States, how we have 500,000 people infected and only got 10,000 people, and we got the virus confirmed, our first patient on the same day. So we're going to look at the differences between that. And we're going to have some other stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for stopping by this morning. My name is Nate for Uncivil Law on This Way. I will check you guys later, and I'm going to hit in broadcast. I'm going to finally do this right. We're going to be out of here.